Welcome to Hotspur Hot News, where we bring you the hottest Tottenham Hotspur news on YouTube here with frequent uploads. So we have a couple questions here today. I'm going to be asking my dad, and I will give my personal opinion. He'll give his personal opinion, and we'll share you guys, and you can give your thoughts in the comments. So our first question is, what are your thoughts on Tuesday's game against Villarreal in the Champions League?
So I think we lacked creativity. I think they tried to get the ball down the right hand side to Kudus a lot, but I think having Xavi Simmons on the left side kind of took that connection out. I'd like to see Xavi Simmons play through the middle. That way, he and Kudus can kind of play off of each other a little bit more, have some more creativity. But I think defensively, we're very sound. We've allowed one goal, in 4 games this year, in the league and then in the Champions League. So I think, the biggest difference between this year's team and last year's team is how sound we are defensively.
Yeah, I agree. I believe that Xavi Simmons should be in the middle, but also I feel like in these last 2 games we've been more prone to like stick to one side the whole game, and I feel like we just need
Yeah,
to have more creativity, be willing to from side to side, switch the field. But like you said, our defense has been really great. You have here the match ratings: Van de Ven 8.1. You got just defense played amazing. I do think we needed more creativity because I feel like the goal it was just a mistake on the goalie's part, but defense held it up, so we got the win, which we take a win. And but I want to see more creativity out of us if we're gonna want to make a big run in the Champions League this year because it's the top of the competition.
yeah. I think our center forward play has fallen off. Richarlison started out the season pretty hot, but he's not getting into those little pockets of space in front of the goalie to finish off. Kudus had a good cross that he wasn't able to get on the end of on the back post. I'd like to see us, either give Koulibaly a little bit more of a run. I know Solanke's hurt. Maybe try him out when he gets back. I'm actually a fan of Solanke. I think he, in the right system, can play well if he has good service.
I agree. I think Solanke's great because I feel like he adds an aspect of pressure that Richarlison just doesn't really add. But I also think that we need to give Koulibaly a chance because I mean, he might not just be adapted to the system yet, but I want to see what he can do in our system because I feel like he's a top-notch striker. He's made plenty of appearances for the French national team, and I just want to see what he can do in Thomas Frank's system because Frank is clearly shown to have a good system. It's just our offense needs a little boost of creativity, and then I feel like we can be one of the top-notch teams.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think Frank's system also is adaptable, and so he can play to got different player strengths, different combinations of players.
I agree. All right, our next question: where do you think Tottenham will place this season in the Premier League, in your personal opinion?
Um, I'd love to say first, but being realistic, I think fifth is where I kind of going into this after the first couple games. Fifth, I do think we'll be in the Champions League places because I believe the Premier League has 5 again this year. So I do think we'll finish fourth, fifth, somewhere in that neighborhood.
I agree. I feel like with our signings, we needed at the beginning of the season wasn't quite sure if we were going to get that top five, but bringing in Xavi Simmons, who is a clear, known, talented 10 role, and that's what we truly needed. And I feel like that gave us the boost. I believe we can get top five, and top five will get us the Champions League spot, which I would really hope we can go back to back seasons with the Champions League, and so I do believe we can get top five.
Yeah, I agree. And Champions League 2 years in a row will definitely help with transfers as well, bringing
Yes,
bringing guys in.
definitely, because you look at 2 years ago and we were not even in any like Europe competitions, and we didn't really have any big signings. But this year we have Champions League after winning the Europa League. We get big names like Mohamed Kudus, Sabi Simmons, and teams actually want because they want to know that they have guaranteed Champions League ball if they want to make a big transfer.
Yeah,
All
yep,
right,
I agree.
third question: if the transfer window were to open up for one more day, who would you want Tottenham to sign? But it has to be like a realistic signing.
Well, depends on what you're defining as a realistic signing. We have a buyback for Harry Kane, so that would be my ideal signing. And as I understand it, it's 54 million. I mean, even at at 33, he's a bargain for 54 million. That's realistically the signing that I would make.
Yeah, I agree. And when I meant like realistic, I mean like don't say like Lamine Yamal because that's obviously not
Oh
going
yeah,
to
yeah,
happen.
yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't even realize we had a fifth. It was only 54 because we sold him for about 100 million, and he's, in my personal opinion, at this time the best striker in the world. I am a little bit biased. He was Tottenham player for a while, but I think him or we go through with either one of the wingers we said we were considering, like Savinho, Rafael Leao, because our left wing I just truly want to see Xavi Simons play in the middle, and then we could rotate Savinho or Rafael Leao outside. But with that, I also want to see Brennan Johnson make some appearances on the left because last year he was our leading goal scorer in all competitions. So I feel like I want to see
Yep.
him get more involved.
Well, and he's a finisher, and he's not going to run at people. He's not going to play crosses in, but he can finish. And so if we have some of that creativity with Simmons and Kudus, it might open up some pockets of space for Brennan Johnson to get on the end of crosses and finish.
Yeah, I feel like that was our a big key addition with Kudus is we didn't really have that kind of winger that would take someone on one. Like Son used to be that player, but with age he's kind of taken a step down. And now that we signed Kudus, he's been our winger that's able to like put a move on, get by a man, play a cross in, just like we saw against West Ham when Charleston scored his really good goal. It all started with Kudus when he put a nice little body feint, cuts to the right, plays the ball in, and the ball's in the back of the net.
Yeah,
And Richarlison had a great finish, but the play really happened because of Kudus.
sure. On a side note, our boy Sonny's balling. He just had a hat trick for LAFC.
Yeah, Son, MLS, I feel like is a perfect spot for him right now.
Yeah,
But yeah, also Thomas Muller is balling out, and because Philadelphia Union lost 7-0 to Vancouver.
yeah.
Yeah. Next question: what do you believe is our best possible starting 11?
So based on health right now,
Yes, current day. If like, let's say we had a big game against like Liverpool, what do you want our strongest lineup to go out there and be?
so I think it depends a little bit on who we're playing, and I like that Thomas Frank is a little bit flexible in this.
Yeah, definitely.
So Liverpool, for example, I'd go, obviously Vic in goal. I'd go with Jed Spence on the left because Jed Spence is a better defender than Udoji is. And historically, he's played well against Salah. He's got the speed, he's got the man marking ability. Obviously, your center backs are going to be Mickey and Cuddy Romero, and then Pedro Paro on the right, who I think is leading, all Premier League fullbacks in almost every progressive category: crosses played, balls played,
Mm-hmm.
and passes played into the box, into the final third. All of those categories, I think Pedro Paro is leading the Premier League in. It gets a little tricky in the midfield because I think our best midfield right now um, that we have been playing is Paulinho, Sarr, and Bergval.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that leaves us in a situation where we have a little bit of a lack of creativity, and I'd rather see Simmons play in that 10 role. So I don't know. I don't know who you take off, Bergval or Sarr. Paulinho for me in a big game is a must. He's an absolute lock. Um, I would probably say at this point Sarr and Xavi Simmons in our midfield, and then Kudus on the right. At this point, I would still go with Richarlison just because of his experience in the Premier League and in the team. And I would go with Brennan Johnson on the left. I think that gives us a lot of different scoring options. I think defensively we're going to be really sound because we have a really defensive minded back four. Pedro Paro would be of those four, he's going to be the kind of the weak link defensively. But what he gives you going forward makes up more than makes up for it. And he's an above average defender. It's not like he's not Trent Alexander Arnold, who's all going forward and no defense. I think Pedro Paro is a much more balanced player than Trent was. Um, but yeah, I think that's probably what I would go with. But I would be okay with Bergball in the starting lineup somewhere.
Yeah, I agree with about 90% of that team. I have same back line because I feel like when it comes to Udogi versus Spence, like Udogi has his pros. I feel like going forwards on the ball, he's a better player because like a little bit better, probably a better dribbler, better passing. But I feel like when it comes to the defensive aspect, especially if in this scenario we're facing Liverpool, we need Jed Spence because we need him to shut down Mo Salah, who's one of the best in the game right now. And so
One of
I,
the best ever.
yeah, one of the best ever for Premier League history and this winger history. But I think Jed Spence on the left, center backs are Vandeven Romero, right back is Pedro Porro. I also think Vicario is obviously the starting goalie. So I think at the DM, Paulinho, because he's just a game changer. He'll shut down players, and I think he just really helps on the defensive aspect.
He's a game wrecker. He
He
just
is.
takes the ball.
Yep. Anytime you're trying to put in a dribble, he'll come in and just steal it. I think Xavi Simmons, I want him at the 10 for a more creative aspect towards the game. Um, and I will say, I believe Sarr has been playing fantastic in the system of Thomas Frank. So I want him. I think he gets just the edge over Bergval. Um, so my right wing is Kudus. Up top, I'm gonna go with Richarlison still. Like he said, he's been just playing more, so we had more experience this season. On the left, right now, I'm gonna go with Brennan Johnson, but I hope later into the season that could potentially be Colomani because he's had experience playing on the left. Or we could take Brennan Johnson, stick him on the left still, and just put Colomani up top. But I want him to get involved in our offense because I just
Well, and I'd also like to see, and maybe you'll see it more in the cup competitions. Um, I'd like to see Odebear and Mathis Tell get some time, get some like run of games,
mm-hmm,
and I think you see it when they both play because both of them start for the France U21s,
mm-hmm.
and both of them play really well. Especially Tell, he had at least a brace, if not more than two goals in the last international break. So he has that in him, but his primary position has always been playing through the middle, and so I think if we play him off to the left, I would almost if we're going to play Mathis Tell, I would almost rather see him play with a Koulibaly who can also float out to the left, and they can kind of interchange, depending on what the flow of the game's getting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mathis Tell, he's legit. I feel like he's a great substitute option. I'm glad we got that deal done for the loan with the option to buy because I feel like him rotating in as he develops, he could grow to be an elite 9 role, and
Well,
Odebear.
we made it permanent this summer.
Yeah, I'm really happy about that. Odebear, he's also one of those wingers I feel like can take a man on, but he just isn't quite like Prem starting level yet because he's not even 21 years old yet. But yeah, I do agree that those two. I feel like in cup games, them starting is great. Like I just feel like I didn't he didn't Tell didn't start for the Champions League, but I wouldn't have minded if he started to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think, even though I said Harry Kane would be who I would sign, I definitely think a left-sided winger is probably our biggest position of need right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you said, either Savinho or Rafa Leao, but I wouldn't be at all sad if we made a run at Antoine Semenyo
I wouldn't mind that
from
either.
Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's big and powerful and can run at guys.
Mm-hmm.
And he's big enough that he's going to also be effective in the air, coming in off the left.
I mean, if you look at the game against Bournemouth for us, when we switched some Jed Spence to the right, then we were more controlling of the game. But when some like because I feel like Jed Spence has been good, but Pedro Parra, I just don't think he that was his best game this season.
Yeah, I think he just got overpowered by Semenyo.
Because yeah, Semenya he was a game changer that game, and he I believe had the assist to get the goal for Bournemouth.
I think he scored it.
He scored it.
Yeah, he scored it.
Yeah, okay. He would be a great signing. I feel like he would fit in our system quite well. All right, last question. If you could travel back in time and be at any Tottenham game in history, which game would you go to and why?
That for me is the absolute easiest question ever. Champions League semis against Ajax at Ajax when um, Lucas Moura had the hat trick to win the game. I mean, to me, that's the pinnacle game to go to for Spurs.
Yeah, I just feel like the absolute scenes it would be, like knowing we were down, and a lot of people are like down in the dumps, knowing we've had a solid run so far, and it'll come to an end. And Lucas Moura scores one, and you're like, okay, maybe we can do this. Scores a second, and you're hyped. But because we were away, we needed one more to tie it up, and then we would win. And then when he got that last goal, the scenes it would be.
Well, and it was so late on,
Mm-hmm.
and just watching those highlights and just seeing the Ajax players crumble to the floor
Yeah, just
after
like
they see
as
it go
as
in.
soon as they see it go in, you see a lot of them just fall to the ground, and they're just like, it's over because
Yeah,
it was that
yeah,
late in the game. Yeah, I also that would be my game of choice to go to because just the the crowd and how loud it would be, and just everything would be perfect, and I would just doesn't get much better than that.
yeah,
All right,
yeah.
that just about wraps up our first episode of Hotspur Hot News. Thank you all for joining. If you have any questions you want us to answer in the future, leave them in the comments, and please subscribe because it'll help us out tremendously. Thank you all, and we'll see you in the next video.
Thanks, guys.